Adrienne always thought her life was like a book with a perfect plot. She loved art, adored her job at the museum, and her husband Jack seemed to be the epitome of dependability and caring. Together with their daughter Mary, they lived in a cozy downtown apartment, surrounded by warmth and comfort. Jack worked in the antiques trade, and his stories about ancient relics always fascinated Adrienne. Their family seemed to be bound together by invisible threads of trust and love, but there was something dark behind the illusion. One evening, Jack invited Adrienne to dinner at a restaurant to celebrate the successful completion of a major transaction. He was in high spirits, talking about new opportunities and how their lives would be even better. During the conversation, he mentioned that he might have to travel to other cities for work. Adrienne, being a caring wife, was supportive, although she noticed a slight tension in his tone. After dinner, Jack seemed to deepen his thoughts, but he answered questions with assurances that everything was fine. A few days later, Jack stayed at work longer than usual. Adrienne began to worry, but decided not to escalate the situation since she trusted him. However, that sense of calm was shattered the morning she was given the tragic news Jack had been killed in a car accident. She couldn't believe it. Her world turned upside down. The funeral was held in an atmosphere of deep sorrow, and Adrienne began to get used to life without Jack, although it was difficult for her. But the calm didn't last long. At first, it was the little things: frozen bank accounts, calls from strangers, strange documents she found in his things. Then something more disturbing happened. In one of his jewelry boxes, Adrienne found an old photograph of Jack with another woman. On the back of the photo was the inscription, "Always yours, Jonathan." Adrienne was confused. Her husband never said he used another name. This was the beginning of a chain of questions that kept her wondering. She decided to check into his business contacts. During a meeting with one of Jack's co-workers, Adrienne mentioned a photograph she had found. The coworker looked surprised and said he knew Jack by another name. He added that Jack was a reserved person and rarely talked about his personal life. These words only increased her suspicions. Adrienne began digging into her husband's past, finding more and more disturbing details. In the basement of their home, she discovered a locked box she didn't know existed. Inside were old passports, documents in other names, and a key. At the same time, strange events began to happen. Someone started watching the house, and one night the door to their apartment was ajar, though Adrienne confidently remembered locking it. She felt that her life and Mary's were in danger. The girl began to notice that her mother was becoming more and more tense. Mary tried to ask what was going on, but Adrienne avoided frank talk so as not to frighten her daughter. One day on the street, Adrienne was approached by a stranger. He called her by another name and asked how she was doing. At first, she thought it was a mistake, but the man insisted he knew her and Jack. His words were cryptic. He hinted that Jack led a double life. Adrienne felt she had to find out the truth. The man left her a business card, offering to meet if she wanted to know more. Adrienne hesitated for a long time, but decided to meet. The man, who introduced himself as Richard, said that Jack had been involved in smuggling antiques and jewelry. He also said that Jack's death could have been staged and made a convincing argument. Adrienne was shocked. Her husband, who seemed honest and caring, turned out to be a completely different person. She felt betrayed, but knew she had to act to protect her daughter. Adrienne went to the police, but was told that they could do nothing without concrete evidence. She began looking for more evidence to corroborate Richard's words. During her search, she found a hidden collection of jewelry she didn't know existed. She now realized that these items could be the reason for everything that was going on. Adrienne soon noticed that she was being followed. An unfamiliar car appeared in front of her house too often. She decided to move to a hotel, hoping it would keep her and Mary safe. But even at the hotel, she felt uneasy. One night, a stranger tried to break into their room. Adrienne managed to hide and call the police, but the man escaped, leaving behind only a feeling of fear. Even more shocking was that one day she saw Jack alive. It happened by chance in a crowd on the street. She had tried to chase after him, but he had gotten away. Now there was no doubt Jack had faked his own death. Adrienne was furious, but knew she had to keep her cool. She turned again to Richard, who had helped her track Jack down. Richard found out that Jack was preparing for a new big deal. Adrienne decided to meet with him, Their meeting was tense. Jack initially tried to convince her that he had done everything for their family, but then his true nature came out. He claimed that Adrian had become a nuisance and hinted that he was ready to get rid of her. The scene was filled with tension, but Adrian, showing courage, did not give in to his threats. In the final confrontation, Jack tried to attack Adrian, but she appeared prepared. With the help of Richard and the police, she was able to stop him. Jack was arrested, and Adrian and her daughter were finally able to return to their normal lives. However, the wounds of the experience left a deep mark on her soul. Adrian realized that she would never be able to trust people the way she had before, but her love for her daughter and her desire to protect her became her mainstay.